This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Right, there he is. Ready to go. How you feeling, baby? You feeling good?
I'm feeling good. How are you?
Exceptional, baby. The crypto market is pumping. I am feeling good, man.
There you go.
So it's all about the Bitcoin, baby. All right. The Bitcoin that got old was Belichick, but I got to tell you something. And look, I know Ben Volen, nice guy, but his report for me is, I think it's as full of shit as it gets, and I would tell Ben right to his face on it. The idea that you're going to fire Belichick, even if he loses, not just the Colts game, if he loses the next 5 games. I saw Shula, and the game got past him. I saw Tom Landry. I saw Chuck Noll. I've seen this shit before. These kind of people, you wait to the end of the year. The season's over already, bro. You're the most important figure in the history of your franchise. You are not going to fire him like he's Cam Cameron, like, you know, he's just some slapdick that you just hired a year or 2 ago, and he means nothing to your franchise, and he was an absolute mistake. The idea that you would just fire Belichick mid-season, I think it's actually pretty disrespectful to Robert Kraft to think that he would be that short-sighted and that disrespectful to Belichick and to the franchise and to the fan base to create a fiasco like that in the middle of the season with a figure like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Look, I don't know Ben Volen personally. I have read his reporting, and he's an excellent reporter. I would agree with you, though. Like there is no world they're firing Belichick in season. First of all, for the obvious reason, which you laid out, that is Belichick's arguably the best coach to ever walk on a football field. Like whether or not you think he is or he's not, I mean, he's right at the top of the list.
Whatever. Right.
And look, that franchise, people of certain age don't even remember, that franchise was a joke before Belichick and Brady showed up. Okay, that team had done nothing for
Since
a year.
The AFL.
Okay, they never won a championship. They were rumored to move in the early to mid-90s before Kraft showed up and stabilized the team. So that's one thing. Secondly, Robert Kraft, as much as any owner in the league, is very aware of public perception. He knows what the temperature is around his team. And certainly it's not helping that there's some empty seats at Gillette. That is noticed. At the same point, Robert Kraft understands if he fires Bill Belichick midseason, what that's going to look like. I mean, this is a guy who is acutely in tune with everybody's commentary around the Patriots. So, as you point out too, their season's done. What are you gaining? You're going to hire Gerard Mayo. He's in-house. You don't have to get out ahead of a search.
By the way, abuse Gerard Mayo by putting him as an interim coach?
You're right. I mean, for what point? Like,
him.
There's no world Belichick's gone. I mean, unless Belichick just up and quit or something, there is no world where he's being fired in New England during the season. That is not going to happen.
Zach Wilson is a special kind of suck.
He's not good. He's not good.
Yeah, it's to the point, and let me, this is going to be a 2-part question. One, I think the Jets have done a disservice to that defense, to their fan base, by staying with Zach and failing to go out and get, I don't give a shit what veteran you go out and get, bro. But there's got to be an old fart out there sitting out there that's a smart dude that won't get you at least in a whole bunch of trouble and will make 1 or 2 decent throws for you a game and won't give the goddamn game away, because that's what you do with this kid. And then here's the part 2 that I disagree with completely, dude. This kid's so fragile. The worst thing that happens is having Aaron Rodgers there, bro, because he's pressuring that he's coming back. The defense is playing his ass off. And that kid who can't handle the fire knows that the entire world, the weight of the world is on him, because the fan base wants you to keep the ship afloat until Rodgers can get back, which he really isn't. But whatever. The defense wants you to keep the ship afloat because they're playing their ass off, and the fans want you to do it. And yet he doesn't have the wherewithal to do this. I actually think Rodgers' presence is also a detriment to Zach. It doesn't actually help him. I think it hurts him, and it puts even more pressure on him having that presence there and everything going on, because now you have him off the, in the field telling the other guy, "Oh, no, I'll be back in a couple of weeks," which we know it's bullshit, but whatever. But for the two parts there, getting another quarterback is what you should have done. And then on the other side, the Aaron Rodgers shadow being present at all the time like that. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Wilson, he's been terrible this year. Okay, had the Jets have beaten the Chiefs that one night where he actually played reasonably well, that would have been a 30 for 30 documentary if they had found a way to win that game. Okay, but of course they didn't, because he fumbled a snap right in his hands and that ended the game. Look, I would say this: he is terrible. I mean, I think in my quarterback rankings, if he's not last, it's because there's some like third stringer who's behind him or something. I mean, he's rough. So how they didn't make a call to the Titans? Hey, Ryan Tannehill, like, he's in the last year of his deal. Say whatever you want about Ryan Tannehill, he's Joe Montana compared to Zach Wilson, right? Yes. I mean, you make that phone call. I think we saw Minnesota trade for Joshua Dobbs, give up nothing. They give up nothing. Call the Panthers. Andy Dalton. Hey, look. Would you do it? I mean, your season's in the tank. Like, would you make the trade? Jameis Winston. Like, hey, what would it take? A fifth, sixth round pick? And I know there has been some theory of, well, maybe Aaron Rodgers wouldn't want another guy to come in. Who cares? Like, he's a quarterback. I mean, I've seen that float around. Like, well, maybe they were worried. That's crazy. The other part of this, as far as the way this whole thing's been handled by the Jets. You have a championship caliber defense, and you're just wasting it because, in my opinion, by the way, for the record, the reason I don't think they brought another quarterback is I really think they have the ego that they think they can fix Zach Wilson. Well, guess what? You're not fixing Zach Wilson. I think part of it is too is the second overall pick, and they can't admit that they whiffed on him. They whiffed. Right. He stayed. Move on. Yeah. As far as Rodgers,
by the way, that's the worst thing that a franchise can do 100%. Is continue to justify a pick.
Admit it. Move on. Move on.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. The Niners, they traded Trey Lance. They're like, yep, whiffed on it. See ya. Bye. Go to Dallas. I think with Rodgers' presence, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing he's there in Monday through Saturday. I think it matters, though, when he's out there whipping around passes, making sure he's getting a little bit of camera time. Okay. And let's be real. That's what this is. Okay. This is like, hey, I know that the cameras are on, and I'm going to go out there and throw the ball. And listen, he looks like he's ahead of schedule, but the reality is he's not playing this year. Like, I don't care how ahead of schedule he is. He tore his Achilles in mid-September. He's not coming back within 4 months. He could be Jesus Christ. He's not coming back within 4 wait a
minute. He could come back, but he's just going to come back to re-tear the bitch again, because the second you need to really plant and really pull away from a 300-pounder, that thing is just going to get shredded again. So if the Jets want to do the king-size stupid thing, bring him back so he could get re-injured again for next year, you go ahead and do it, bro. He won't be throwing the entire offseason, and he'll be rehabbing the entire offseason. And then you got a 41-year-old man with 2 Achilles injuries. Knock yourselves out.
They can't block. So, like, I mean, they still can't. What they got? 8 sacks? With now Wilson, I know made a few of those on his own, but like still 4, 5, 6 on the line. Like Rodgers, it's impressive. It's fine and well. He can throw the ball 55 yards in the air right now. But to your point, and I thought this exact same thing when I was watching the footage of this. That's great. That's not an NFL throw. Like, he's not driving off that ball. I mean, that's just, hey, look, I'm going to get up on my good foot and throw the ball 55 yards. And that's great. But like, it is the idea that he's coming back for them is just crazy. Like, he's not playing this year, but they keep this hope alive. Like, well, maybe look at this throw. Look at that part of it's not helping anybody. It's not, except for Rodgers, who likes to kind of stir the pot, and that's fine. But yeah, no, he's not playing again this season.
All right, so let's talk about the matchup, man. To me, Tyreek Hill has to be elite if you want to beat the elite, and the Dolphin defense played their asses off, bro. If I tell you you're limiting Kelsey to 14 yards, Mahomes only getting 14, and it's all in the first half. You're shutting him out in the second half. You're telling me, so what'd you win by 10 or 15? Wow, the Chiefs sucked that day. No, they won. Huh? And so, the way I kind of looked at that game was neither team made plays. There were 180 yards each by each quarterback. Nobody threw for a lot of yards. There were only a few plays to be made. The few that were made, the Chiefs made the plays, offense and the defensive play. And Miami had a few, but they failed on those. The Tyreek bomb that was right in his hands, and he should have caught the second one too. That was a little behind. He still should have caught that. Just like I say, the bad
one he definitely should have caught.
Yeah, the first one for sure. Yeah. The second one, I can even question it. And then, of course, the fumble, okay, which, that cost 7 right there. But you got to be a lead in those moments, dude. And if you talked all that shit about you're going to be their worst nightmare and that you wish it was at Arrowhead and all that other stuff, my brother, to me, it kind of, I know it's a team game, but I kind of have to kind of lay it all on Tyreek's feet, and say, yo, man, you wanted your revenge. They set the stage for you, and you just didn't come through.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think there's a lot of truth in that. Like Tyreek Hill, along with Justin Jefferson when he's healthy, they're the best receivers in football. And if you're Tyreek, like you have to make the game-winning play. He actually, I guess, well, in a sense, he did. He made it for the other team. But you've got to make the winning play. And listen, it's a great play by McDuffie, who's arguably the Chiefs' best defensive player right now. I mean, even with Chris Jones, McDuffie's been that good. Like he made a great play, and they put it together and fine. My feeling walking out of that game was Miami defensively is getting to the point where we thought they could get to, which is a great sign for the Dolphins. The other side of it, though, that I felt was in 3 times now, and they've played really quality teams. They have not made the plays that they need to make to win those games, and the other teams have. Like
you can punch Miami's offense in the mouth, and they don't
punch back. It's true, and that is, it's funny. So the one thing that gets lost in this game, so it's 21-0 at half. The Chiefs are controlling the game, and offensively, even in the first half, the Chiefs, it was very much in fits. They had 2 great drives, and they did nothing else otherwise. They had 200 yards, 14 points on offense, which in a half is solid. It's good. Second half of the game, Miami did everything they could to shut them down. The Chiefs had a turnover. They had 46 yards of offense. They went into a shell. They did not play well. Miami defense, all the credit in the world. The drive that gets forgotten in the game was when they got the ball back down 21-14 next to last drive. Not the last one, but the next to last drive. They just scored 2 touchdowns. They got over midfield. They looked for all the world they were going to move in, and Mostert gets thrown for like a 6-yard loss on a pitch play. It was Mostert on a pitch play. And then the next play, the Chiefs brought one of their few blitzes of the day, and they sacked Tua, and now all of a sudden it's 3rd and forever, and you're not going to convert that, and you got to punt. That was an opportunity, and that's to my point, like the offensive line on 2 consecutive plays let them down. Mostert had no chance to get loose on that play. 3 guys were there to hit him. And then on the sack, 2 guys were there to sack him. And all of a sudden you're way back. And that goes to what we talked about before the game started last week. Miami's got to be more physical up front. They've got to be able to. I mean, Tua was sacked 3 times, but the Chiefs harassed him throughout the game. Like, you've got to be able. You don't even have to win, but you got to have a stalemate. You've got to be able to walk out of there going, "Hey, we played even," and that's been an issue.
This is why we have the argument down here. You follow football, bro. The flutter that he threw in the last drive for Wilson, that was a hot read.
It was.
There's no time to wait for a long play, dude. But see, that's the coach putting somebody in Cedric Wilson that wasn't playing as much, and you put him in a position where he had to make the right read as the quarterback. And instead of, it's one of those like you throw, you're in the motion of throwing the ball, and then the receiver makes another cut, and you're holding back, altering, and then the ball's going to come out all screwed up. And so that was a hot read, and he was supposed to catch it and go outside, because one of the things I talked about in the pregame, even though Trent McDuffie is really good, he's 5'10". And if you've got Cedric Wilson, and I also said Chase Claypool, try to find the bigger player on the 5'10" corner, and sure enough, they did it for the Cedric Wilson touchdown. So I get what they were trying to do, but dude, you have to play Tyreek or Waddle in that position. so you can make those kind of things that, the pre-snap penalties, things like these are the kind of mistakes that are stopping them, not just the physical play that they can't punch somebody back in the mouth because let's also give the Chiefs some credit too. That's a hell of a defensive front you're facing. They're going to punch you in the mouth on a consistent basis.
Sure.
And that's where Miami has not answered to Buffalo, to Philadelphia, and to the Chiefs overall. But see, in that play there, that's a key decision that has to be made, and your players have to be on the right page. And right there, the coach put the wrong player for a key play in the game.
Well, and look, the national narrative around Kansas City is always because of Mahomes. It's always their offense. I got to tell you guys a dirty secret about Chiefs. The offense has been pretty average. The defense has been unbelievable. Like that,
so
you can make a real argument along with Baltimore. They have the best defense in football. The Chiefs have just dominated teams all year long. I'm pretty sure the only guy who's thrown for 200 yards this year against the Chiefs is Kirk Cousins, and he did on like 48 passes. Nobody throws on the Chiefs. With McDuffie and Snead and that front, like they just get after you, and they spin a lot of coverages at you. Look, I think Miami in that game, and we talked about the physicality up front. The Chiefs did something that most teams don't even try to do against them. They played a lot of man coverage. They were willing to play man. Now they doubled Hill. They doubled him throughout the game, but they were willing to get up there and just say, "Look, we're going to play physical at the line of scrimmage. We're going to try to reroute, take some time." Now there's danger in that. And Hill had him beat on one of those balls, and he went through his hands. Okay, so there's danger there. The other thing that the Chiefs will do is they blitz, and when they blitz, they're very effective at it. That fourth down play at the end of the game, it's a snap Tua should field. It's also a snap he's looking at the rush because they're bringing 7 guys. And he knows, like, I've got to get rid of this ball in about a second or I'm going to be out flat on my back. And I think that, that's the thought process when you blitz cover 0. Miami's defense, though, to go the other direction, was fantastic. Look, they got pressure all game long. They ran stunts. The Chiefs didn't handle it well. They covered well. They had a great plan for Kelsey. Pacheco was okay, but they weren't burned by Pacheco throughout the game. If you're looking glass half full, I think you'll walk out of this and say, okay, look, the defense now that it's healthy is getting to be a good unit. It's getting to be where we need it to be. And if you're Miami, you got 5 games coming up. You should win all 5 of them. These teams coming up, they should win every single one of these games. And then you get Dallas, big physical front, Baltimore leading the league in sacks, Buffalo, a team that beat you already, although certainly with some injuries now. Miami, the goal should be come out of the bye and handle these next 5 teams. That should be the goal. Get to 11-3, and then you know what? You find then you get a good hard 3 weeks worth of being tested before you get to the playoffs, where Miami will be. The Dolphins are capable of winning these games, but they've got to understand you can't make a couple of big mistakes against teams like this. Right. And look, if you've rooted for a good team or you watch good teams in your life, like you understand one big mistake like that, like the Hill play that ended up going the other direction, the game's over. Like you can't spot a team like Kansas City 7 points. You just can't. That is a crushing blow. And it was obviously the winning play of the game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Now, on the flip side, I will say, if the offense can figure things out, the way that defense is played against a great offense and a great quarterback, and they did something to Travis Kelce that nobody does. Nobody slows down Travis Kelce that way, which, by the way, might be a little bit of a blueprint now, you think? Or do you have to have the personnel? I don't know how.
I'm always a big do you have the personnel to do it? Because you could have the blueprint all you like. I could have the blueprint of how to beat Usain Bolt in a 100-meter dash, but the reality of it is I don't have the foot speed to go do it. So I think Kelsey's been in the league a long time. Teams try to do it a lot. They can't do it. Miami, to their credit, did it. Give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, and by the way, they were talking about having Ramsey fall. They didn't have to do that. It was an interesting moving bracket that they did kind of with him. It's kind of depending on where he lined up, then different people had the responsibility. And Chubb, by the way, was very good. Chubb has actually really turned the corner in the last month. Because from the trade till about the first 4 or 5 weeks of this season, it was almost like he was stealing money, pretty much. But the last month, he has actually really, and again, you follow this. once you add Ramsey to the mix and you have Ramsey and X, once you have two shutdown corner, that's why the Chiefs defense has been so good, because the secondary allows the front seven to really get after people. And then you don't have enough time to go find somebody in that secondary.
Well, you know what? When you play the way the Dolphins want to play under Vic Fangio, they're not going to blitz a ton. You need to get home with four guys. You need to be able to get home with four. They'll blitz occasionally. They blitz occasionally in that Chiefs game, but they're not going to blitz a lot. And that is true, by the way, like Cincinnati's defense is like that. Kansas City will blitz more, but even this year they haven't blitzed as much as they have in years past because they have a front that they don't have to blitz and get home with four guys. Like, when you can get home with four, especially come January, you have a massive advantage. When you got to start sending the fifth guy and the sixth guy more than just here and there, now you got a problem. Because now you're in a position where, guess what? You're facing great quarterbacks, and those guys, they're going to find those one-on-one matchups, and they're going to beat you. I mean, they're just gonna. So Miami did a nice job. Like I said, I mean, when you can stunt and twist the way they did against Kansas City, that creates a lot of problems because it almost acts like a blitz. You have guys looking for work on both sides of them. It changes the scope, the picture a little bit. I think Miami's defense is going to be fine. I think Miami's defense is going to be a good defense. Right now, really, it sounds weird coming off a loss. The only real question I have about Miami is just when they play really good teams, right, and that offense gets thrown off schedule and it's thrown off rhythm and it's not a symphony all the time. Can they find a way? Because, you know, look, they run the Niners offense. And when the Niners are humming like that, they're unbeatable. They just roll teams. But when you knock them off script, we've seen Purdy the last couple. Now, Tua's better than Purdy, but we've seen Purdy the last couple of weeks. It becomes a problem.
Right.
They have to accept the fact that in January, I don't care how good you are, you're going to be off script sometimes. You're just going to be. These teams are too good. They're going to take away your first read. They're going to double hill. They're going to take them out of the game to an extent. If Miami can figure that problem out, they're right there. But that's the thing they've got to work through in the next 2 months or so.
All right, let's get to the real issues going on here in this league. And, Madame Tussaud is obviously very known for her wax figures, and you go to any of her wax museums, and it's always impressive, right? What is going on with Madden and Mike McDaniel? What the hell is that?
It's not
what's that? That's Mike McDaniel, like, thinking he's on steroids, tough guy?
It's not good. It's not good. I mean, Mike McDaniel in person, who I've had the pleasure of chatting with a few times, is a pretty unique, engaging figure in NFL circles. That guy looks like he might be moving the chains any minute. Just throw a vest on him and call it a day.
He looks like an old curmudgeon coach or something. McDaniel is a slim guy who, by the way, dresses way better than that. You just gave him the regular football stuff, and he's always dressed in like high-class shit, dude. His shoes cost more than my entire wardrobe, bro.
Yeah. Well, he also has a watch, right? He's got the watch.
He's styling. They have like a what is that?
Yeah. It's not good. It's not good.
Representation here. I mean, these are important things that we have to tackle here in the NFL. You gotta. That's a misrepresentation of Mike McDaniel. It's like they're telling McDaniel, "Oh no, we don't want to put his actual physique. Let's make him look like a tough guy."
Yeah, I'm probably one of the few people in the world that's a football fan. I don't play a lot of Madden because I feel like the game's the same every single year. And so I just stopped getting it after 19 or 20. But this is part of the problem. Like, you got it. How much money is at your disposal in Madden, right? I mean, let's face it. If you're EA Sports, like, that's pretty much like, hey, that's our crown jewel, whatever it takes. Got to do better than Mike McDaniel looking like a borderline sumo power lifter who maybe gets dressed by his mom in the morning. It's not good.
Yeah, he's got an attitude problem or something. I mean,
it's not good.
It's not. There's nothing about it that's good. All right, what do you got going on Sports Illustrated so folks can check you out?
All 22 piece went out this morning. Broke down 3 pieces of plays around the league I thought were interesting and kind of insightful. Tomorrow, got the quarterback rankings coming out. Friday, matchups to watch for every game. Key matchups kind of in the weeds a little bit. And then Sunday, got my column where We've got a running column essentially that goes on the front page of SI.com. You can check out throughout Sunday where I just give my thoughts on every game as they finish. So it's updated throughout the day and you can just keep clicking back into it. It's a fun thing. I like writing about it, try to give some big picture insight right after the game ends. And then not that this is going to be published for a while because it won't be, but on Friday, talking with Larry Zonka. So that'll be fun. Zonk, maybe along with Marino and maybe the greatest Dolphin of all time. So
yeah, definitely right up there. Yeah, definitely. He's there with Jason Taylor and Zach and Marino and Zonk. Those are probably your top four, pretty much. Right there.
No.
By the way, hey.
You've got that's got to be worth money. It's got to be the only one in existence. There's no way anybody kept that. Jake Fiedler's family threw that out.
Yeah. I actually like him. He's such a good dude, just a blue collar guy. We all knew he wasn't the franchise guy, but man, he was a incredible dude. By the way, one thing before I let you go, were you as shocked as we were when Mostert is gouging the shit out of the Chiefs? And then McDaniel just outsmarts himself. And let me just start passing the ball. And it's like, dude, you've gouged him for 40 yards on 2 runs. What are you doing? You got all the time. You got all the timeouts. It's not like you didn't have any timeouts and you're afraid of being stopped in the middle of the field or something. Give me a break. Were you shocked that they didn't continue to run there?
I'd say I was surprised. I mean, look, I thought a big part of it was the Chiefs' defense was on the field the entire second half. I just thought at some point they were going to wear down. And I kept saying it throughout the game as the game was wearing on. I'm like, man, at some point Miami's speed is just going to be a problem here. I mean, the Chiefs they're out there. I mean, my God, the offense couldn't get a foot. So they had to keep punting. I was surprised when they crossed midfield at the 2-minute warning that the next couple plays were not runs. I thought they did the Chiefs a huge favor by saying, we'll throw into your defense. That's the strength of the Chiefs. That is the strength. If you want to help Kansas City, throw at them because they've been nails with it all year long.
Right. There you go. All right, Matt. We'll catch up next week, my friend. Enjoy the football. You be good.
Thanks a lot. Sounds good.
Thank you. Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.